Hey guys, Dan Warpaint JKU. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna finally review the Yokohama Geolandar XMT tire. We're gonna go over all the facts. We're gonna go over some of the myths and misconceptions about off-road tires in general and why you may want or not want to run these tires on your rig. So check it out. So guys, I personally like to actually drive my tires and drive my Jeep for a while, put some miles on them, get them in some different environments, off-road and on-road, before I give a tire review. You've seen plenty of them where people are like, hey, I just got these new tires and they're great. Here's my review. What does that even mean? You've driven them like 200 miles. Guys, I have almost 15,000 miles on these tires. I've driven them in all kinds of weather, even snow, which is a feat in Texas, ice. I've driven them in sand, mud, rocks, dry stuff, the dust. I've driven them in different kinds of rocks, right? Limestone, which is a real rough rock versus a smoother rock like a granite. Guys, I've taken them on road, on long road trips of more than a few hours, and I have a really good idea of how these tires are gonna last in a bunch of different environments. So without further ado, check out some of these clips that I've put together of these tires in action off-road, showing you exactly what they're capable of, and then we're gonna talk about the details. All right, so here are the facts, okay? This tire, when you put a tape measure next to it, when it's mounted on a wheel with the weight of the Jeep on it, comes in at just under 40 inches tall. Now, I do have a 40 by 1350, but this tire comes in at closer to 39.5 inches. Pretty standard and typical for a tire when you actually put a tape measure next to it. Now, this tire is also going to be a D-rated tire. Now, they come in a D rating or an E rating, and it just depends on the tire that you buy. Typically in the tire world, the larger the tire size, the higher the weight rating. But mud terrains, especially in extreme mud terrain, there's actually an exception to that because they know we're going to air these down and we want these tires to be a little softer and fold over, the rocks in the different terrain when we're out on the trail. So they do that for us with extreme mud terrains. I chose to get the lighter weight rating of a D-rated tire so that it would fold even easier when I aired it down. Now, again, I've already said I have this tire in a 40, and being a 40, it's a little heavy. It weighs in at 94 pounds. Certainly not the heaviest 40 on the market, but pretty heavy, right? So it's definitely not a light tire. You guys have heard me now a couple of times say that this is an extreme mud terrain, and the Geolandar XMT is exactly that. And one of the reasons that jump right out at you almost immediately is the tread pattern. Now keep in mind, this tire was my spare and doesn't have quite as many miles on it as the other tires, so it still looks almost new. but the spacing between the tread blocks here is very extreme. The squared 90-degree edges on all of these tread blocks make it also extreme, and those do a couple of things. They allow this tire to eject rocks and mud and things like that as you're rolling using the centrifugal force of the tire. Now, lots of companies will market their tires as being able to do that. And in Texas, where I live, we have very, very, very sticky clay type mud. And let me tell you, these tires are awesome.
That was awesome.
Awesome at ejecting mud out of them.
Be careful. Oh my God.
So if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a mud tire that's going to eject the mud and keep itself clean, these tires are fantastic at doing that. Now, going back to this tire and talking about how it almost looks new, I have about 10,000 or so miles on these tires, and you can tell that they have some chunks, right, missing out of them. Nothing crazy, right? But I mean, they are starting to tear in places. I don't know if it's coming up really well on video. And some of my tires are worse than others. And there's a couple of reasons for that, okay? When you have an extreme terrain, mud terrain tire, it has to be soft, okay? The rubber compound has to be soft in order for it to do its thing and not chunk when it's off-road, right? Not get chunks of rubber torn out of it. But there's a catch there, right? Because the softer the rubber is, like on a sticky tire, those are great. The softer that rubber is, the more grip it gives you off-road, but the faster they wear on-road, and they do not last long at all. Now, Yokohama's claim here is that these have a higher density rubber compound. Now, no tire company is going to give you exactly the specifics of their compound because that's a secret, right? But they have a higher density rubber to make them last a little bit longer when you're driving them on road. But again, that's a catch-22 because as we just said, the harder the rubber, the more they like to chunk. And that is where something like a bead lock here comes in handy. If you're running a bead lock, you can air these tires down, especially with their D rating and their size. I like to run them in my heavy JKU at around 5 to 8 PSI, right? You saw in that video in the beginning of this that 5 to 8 PSI allows these tires to bend and curve and absorb the impacts off-road, and it prevents them from chunking quite as badly. Now, something else Yokohama says about these tires is the fact that they come equipped with something called GeoShield technology. Now, their GeoShield is just the name that they gave their rubber compound, specifically in their sidewall. I rub these tires on rocks and lots of different things off-road. I've gotten them in some pretty precarious situations, as you can see, and I have never even had so much as a slice in one of my sidewalls. But again, guys, this is the thing that I'm gonna say I've never had a problem. You're gonna be able to go down in the comments, I'm sure, and find people that either know someone or them personally had sidewalls tear with these tires. Because no matter what off-road tire you run, there is a limit to it. And I have never seen a single off-road tire never have a torn sidewall. It happens to every single tire that's out there. Some are less susceptible to it than others. And I can tell you that from mounting these myself, that the sidewalls on this tire are very, very, very thick. And that GeoShield technology, in my opinion, does a pretty good job of protecting your sidewall. So guys, in conclusion about this tire, they last very well. They do very well in the snow. They do very well on ice. They do pretty well in wet weather conditions for an extreme mud terrain, right? On the pavement. Off-road, they do great. I've never had a problem with them on the slicker rock. I've never had a problem with them on the rougher rock. But like we talked about, having a bead lock and being able to air down these tires if you're taking them off-road is absolutely crucial to the survival of these tires. Going back a second also to the noise concern. Guys, this tire is shockingly quiet. Obviously, as an extreme mud terrain wears, it's going to have a higher decibel, right? A higher rating driving down the road. but it's still not bad. You can very easily have a conversation in it. You guys know the type of vehicle when you drive down the highway and like a pickup truck or something with like a badly worn mud terrain rolls past you and it's awful. It's nowhere near that, right? These, I mean, you can hear them, but they're not bad at all. It's actually pretty impressive. But again, keep in mind, right? Extreme mud terrain. You're not going to buy a tire like this and wind up having it be absolutely silent on the road, right? If that's what you're going for, this is the wrong tire for you. Now, in my personal opinion, I have ran some other brands and I liked them more, okay? These tires, again, they last. They do a good job. I'm happy with them. But I've had other off-road tires that have lasted longer. I've had other off-road tires that didn't clear the mud as easily as these do, right? But I don't live in a muddy environment. So for me, that's not something that's as important. And I like my tires to grip really well in the rocks, which these do. But I've had others that have done that also and lasted longer. So I think, guys, depending upon what you're looking for, this might be an amazing tire for you. It certainly looks awesome and cool. But, you know, again, depending upon what you're looking for and what your uses are, it might determine whether you actually want this tire or you want to check out another one. Overall, I'm happy with them. I would run them again, but at the same time, if there are other tires available that I would like, I might run some different tires next time. We'll have to see what happens. But again, guys, I'm happy with the Yokohama so far. 10,000 miles. There's still a fair amount of tread left on these tires. Again, they are chunking. They are getting harder as they age. But I'm excited to get out there, keep wheeling these tires, showing you guys what they're capable of. And hopefully you guys subscribe and stay tuned for the next video because we got one coming soon.